talk about trauma that's formed in the womb. And the reason I want to do that is because so many of us, I would say on our page, and certainly not everybody I work with, have actually experienced their first traumas in the womb. And there's very, very specific characteristics that actually happen as a result of that. And I'm sure some of you will recognize them. So that's why I wanted to share that information with you. Nice to see you all. Oh, good. I'm so pleased you're working on it. That's awesome. Hey, guys, those of you that want to be involved in the video, really happy to consider that, but I need to know what you want to talk about first. So if you don't mind dropping me a note, and perhaps we can actually sort out a collaboration for next time. Thank you. So does anybody have any questions, or should I just dive in with what I've got here? So, I might dive in. So, I'm going to first of all talk about trauma that was formed in the womb. Because believe it or not, when we're in the womb, we actually have a complete awareness and consciousness. And when we go back to the womb, you're able to determine exactly how you were feeling. You're able to discern what your needs were, whether you were feeling safe, whether you were feeling unwanted, whether you were feeling loved and wanted. You are able to pick up all of that information. And you're also able to pick up information about mum. How was mum feeling? Was she feeling supported? Was she excited about being pregnant? Was she looking forward to the birth? Was she actually regretting what she had done? Or, in a lot of cases that I work with, are often feeling really trapped. And so, of course, when mum's feeling trapped or, uncertain about a future, the result is quite often on baby that they end up feeling unwanted. And so that's where a lot of those wounds actually come from. In my experience, I have a lot of the not good enough wound, the feeling unwanted, the feeling unworthy or undeserving, and certainly the fear of abandonment and the trust and safety wounds often come from when you were actually in the womb. So that's why it's a really, really great place to start your healing journey. So the other thing I wanted to say about that is that, and I've tried to write about this, but it's really quite hard to articulate. But basically, if you have had your first trauma in the womb, what actually happens is that you go into shock, and then your actual energy leaves your baby body. And what that does is it sets the template for how you respond when you are feeling unsafe. So it might be physically unsafe or emotionally unsafe, but that sets a template for the rest of your life. And a lot of people who suffer from anxiety, often it comes all the way back to this particular time. Because what's actually happening is that, baby was feeling really comfortable, really safe, and then all of a sudden there's a disconnection with mum's energy and baby goes into shock. They go into shock, they freeze, and the energy leaves their body. And they quite often form a wound that they don't have the right to exist. And I've seen that playing out in people's lives again and again and again, and it really absolutely undermines everything. So if this is sounding familiar to you at all, I get that, your mum wasn't excited and you have I understand how that would have impacted you for sure. But if this is feeling like a resonance with you, maybe consider that perhaps you might want to look at doing some healing from when you were in the womb. I mean, for me as a practitioner, I just approach it the same as what I would with inner child work. We actually work with the energy itself, and it's quite remarkable. When we go back there, we can actually find out, as I said before, exactly how you were feeling in the womb, but we can also find out what beliefs have you formed, and that's when we find out what the wounds are. And it might be stuff like a common one is not being wanted, and then from being unwanted comes the being unworthy or not good enough. So really, really powerful, and we can actually heal it back in the womb at that particular time. The other thing that you notice with people who have had their first trauma in the womb, is they go into flight really, really quickly and really easily, and you see it in kids all the time too. Kids will look like they're daydreaming and vacant, and they'll get very flappy, like they're really hyperactive, but most of the time they're actually out of their body. That's what's actually happening, and we keep that pattern right through adulthood. So we might avoid conflict. We might be when we do experience conflict and we can't get away from it, we'll often freeze and we can't think. We get really scattered and ungrounded. Those are all little signs that you might actually have this particular template operating. So any questions about that, guys? Because I know that's quite a mind stretch for a lot of people, but I do a lot of work in that area, and honestly, it is so fascinating. I really love it. So let's have a look, see if we've got any questions here. Yeah, my mum wasn't excited, and you have that, yeah. So interestingly, when I was pregnant, I was in a narcissistic marriage, and it was not a happy time at all, and I didn't want to be pregnant, is the truth. Wasn't that I didn't want my little boy, I just didn't want to be pregnant. I didn't want to be trapped. And it was so fascinating. My boy is really spiritual, and we talk about a lot of this stuff. He's 11 now, but we were talking actually only a few weeks ago, and because he's often said to me when he was younger that he feels unwanted, and I'm just like, oh my God, I so know where that comes from. It comes from how I felt when I was pregnant. But I was talking with him the other day, and he wanted to no longer go into flight when he was in an uncomfortable situation, because that's what he does. His energy leaves his body, and I said, well, if you want to work on it, we can. And so we actually did, and it was really interesting. He picked up straight away, because I said, oh, how was Mum feeling when you were in her tummy? And he picked up straight away, said that I was feeling trapped and manipulated. Now, he doesn't really understand even what those words mean, and it's like when you're actually with a narcissist, and I was feeling really trapped and I was feeling manipulated, and it's just like, here's this boy that's gone straight back to when he was in the womb. He can pick up those feelings. When I work with other people in that space as well, it's really amazing. They can hear arguments outside. They know, oh, that's my auntie, that's my dad. They recognise the voices. It's really amazing, because when we do this kind of work, we're actually, well, I don't know how other people do it, but how I do it, we're connected directly with your Akashic records. It's really fascinating, because that way you're able to actually access any information you want from any timeline, in this lifetime or any other. So any clarity that you want to get, you will be able to get, and it really is quite profound, the information that comes through and what we can do with it. So have you guys got any questions? Sorry, it's having a little look here. Oh, can I speak about sexuality that was passed on in a negative way? I will do the best that I can. I don't know if you mean passed on through the womb, but I work a lot with people who have been sexually abused, when they were younger, and also, if, mind you, it's uncommon to encounter sexual abuse or rape later on if you haven't been sexually abused in your younger years. It does happen, but it's not as common. Quite often, once we've got that wounding from childhood, we carry that wounding as a vibrational frequency in our body, and like all energy that's emotional, it's magnetized, and so we continue to attract people into our environment, into our life, that are going to abuse us in the same way. So that's why usually if you have it when you're younger, it will continue right through life. I think definitely I work with a lot of people who have had parents that are not there might be one parent that's overtly sexual or does not actually respect the boundaries of the children, and the children do pick up wounding around that, and the wounding might involve not knowing actually what's actually okay, what's appropriate, what's not appropriate, and crossing boundaries, and probably worse, letting other people cross their boundaries, not knowing how to say no. And because the issue with that is as well, if you've grown up in an environment where there's real sexual undertones, that becomes your normal. And so you seek out situations, not obviously consciously, but subconsciously, you'll seek out situations that will feel really similar. And even though intellectually you know this isn't quite right, it will feel familiar to you though. So it definitely does make an impact, but it can all be cleared like anything. Anything can be cleared. Oh yeah, lack of self-worth. Yeah, and starting to feel out of place. Yeah, I hear you. That makes sense to me. Yeah. That makes sense to me. They're starting to feel out of place. That's interesting. I wouldn't say that you're a starseed just based on that, but definitely starseeds, that is one common thread that we all seem to have, is we all feel like we don't belong somehow. We don't fit. We don't quite know what is different about us, but we know that we don't quite fit. We're not the same as everybody else. If that makes sense. Tashiko, if I create a guided meditation for this, please record for a download of not only myself and another friend. Sure, no problem. So what is the guided meditation you're wanting, Tashiko? So has anybody else got any questions for me? And otherwise we can dive into a little bit of the inner child healing. So what about manifesting yin energy and allowing to receive when the mind is used to fighting for everything it received? So the key is you need to clear those blocks, those patterns that are sitting there that are fighting for everything they receive. So you're obviously coming from a place of probably lack, I would say. So this is a thing actually that I've noticed a lot. So a lot of manifestation type programs, they don't talk about the fact that you've got to clear the blocks. You can't manifest stuff in when you've got blocks sitting there saying that you don't deserve it, or you're not worthy of it, or it's not for you. So my suggestion would be is to identify the blocks, and you can do that by looking at when you feel triggered. That is an indication you've got that block there, and go in and actually clear that block in your subconscious mind, and then you'll be able to invite the yin energy in. Because I see it kind of a little bit, it's not a very eloquent description, but it's almost like we've got our auric field, and when we've got all of these pockets of wounding, if you like, or unhealed wounds, it's kind of like having these big bricks floating around in your energy field. And so when we're healing them, we're actually removing those bricks, so you have less and less there. And so whatever you're wanting to manifest can actually just flow straight to you. Whereas when you've got all that other stuff in the way, it can't quite get there, or you'll only get a diluted version of it. So the key is actually healing and dissolving any kind of imbalances, and your triggers, of course, are your indications that you've got imbalances there. How about hair pulling? What is this a symptom of? I have to be honest, I don't know, but if I was working with you, I would be looking at a time when you've actually gone to pull your hair, and I would be looking at we would be looking at the trigger. As soon as we looked at a scenario when you did that, a trigger would show itself in your body, and then we would be able to connect right in, see what feelings are sitting in there, what emotions are in there, and then there will be most definitely a split off part of yourself that feels like that's what they need to do. I'm just getting messages, so I get messages from the Arcturians when I'm talking. I'm feeling like that's to do with perhaps your way of sometimes it's like self-mutilation, it's like cutting. It's another form of cutting. So when your emotions are too much for you to cope with, we will quite often fall to actually trying to feel them physically rather than emotionally. But yeah, so it can definitely be dealt with, for sure. Oh, can you speak about people leaving relationships because they love someone else? Ouch. That's really hard. Really, really, really hard. Been there, got that t-shirt. So, I don't know what your situation is, but ultimately, if that's what has happened, there's not a lot you can do about it in terms of, trying to make them come back or anything like that. But what I would be looking at doing is doing your own healing work around. I actually uploaded a guided healing the other day on unrequited love, because that's been a pattern of mine, actually loving people that actually just simply won't and cannot love me back. But the unrequited love might be quite good for you to look at. And I don't know if this is an ongoing pattern or whether this is just the first time it's happened. But if it's not the first time this kind of thing's happened, I would be looking at, have I got any wounding around feeling worthy, feeling good enough, rejection, abandonment, because all of those things are going to attract to you partners who, and obviously betrayal, partners who actually leave you, so that's a signal to be looking within. Feel free to DM me later on and I'll point you in the right direction if you'd like to. Yes, so Toshiko, yes, I actually did upload a inner womb healing, and actually I've had some really amazing feedback. People have had some really amazing, profound kind of results from it. So it is up on IGTV and on my YouTube, so have a peek there. If you get stuck, let me know and I'll send it to you. Oh, I love that question. If you are wanting to have a baby, what are your recommendations to keep the baby safe and not give them the trauma? What a beautiful question. I love that. So the main thing is you. You need to have healed your traumas. You need to be really conscious. And I just love that you're actually being conscious before going into this. I mean, if I had any idea that me not wanting to be pregnant was going to have these kind of effects, of course I would have done things quite differently. But obviously, I guess it must have been meant to have been that way, otherwise it would have been different. But yeah, I think the main thing is being really conscious, conscious that how you're feeling, and I don't mean every minute of every day, we're human at the end of the day, but if you've got an overriding sense of feeling really unsupported, or that you're feeling stuck or trapped, then they're going to be picking that up, absolutely for sure. I would probably, if I was to get pregnant again, although there's no way I'm having another child, not happening. I love mine to bits, but I'm just not growing another one in this body. This sounds terrible, doesn't it? But it's true. I was going to say, if I was to have another baby, I would probably be spending a lot of time trying to connect with them energetically and just talking with them at an energetic level, because you can actually do that. So that's probably what I would be doing, and letting them know how much they're loved, how much they're wanted. And it's not just with your words, it's actually more with your feelings and how you feel. So that's what I'd be doing. Yeah. Yes, I understand that Toshiko, with a twin that aborted, she would benefit from that. I actually do, sometimes we do this work for people who have had a termination as well, and we will connect with the soul of that we soul, and we will communicate to them and just talk with them, and you'll find that, and it's my belief, and certainly it's my experience when I've done this process quite a lot, that they would have known before they came in that was going to be the outcome, or a very likely outcome, and for whatever reason that may have been what they wanted to experience. Not so much obviously the termination, but only the first early stages, for whatever reason, and it might even be a karmic contract between you both. But it's really beautiful to be able to connect with that little soul and say the things that you need to say. For a lot of mums, it'll be, the guilt or the shame, that can go with. I mean, I had a termination when I was 24, I think. And there, no doubt about it certainly stays with you. And in fact, sometimes when I'm working with people, I can see babies sort of sitting somewhere in their auric field. But yeah, that's actually a beautiful thing to do, and also you can let them go and get some inner peace around it, because there is a lot of guilt that goes with that. Hey, I love that. I love that enlightened edits. Twin flames were giving each other a lot of triggers during the Lionsgate. Oh my gosh, I'm not even in a twin flame relationship at this particular point in time, and I just think we're all being triggered. My God, the last 4 weeks, holy, it's been really quite a heavy few weeks. I can't imagine what it'll be like in a twin flame dynamic. Good. Oh, thank you so much. It's really sweet. So, I'm a dreamers. If you're healing the blocks and feeling just lots and lots of sadness and losing interest and don't connect to lots of people anymore, what's possible to help oneself recover from the trauma? It feels to me like you're, I don't know how far you are on your awakening journey, but it feels to me quite dark night of the soul-ish to me. I don't know if that resonates with you at all. And if that's the case, you're really wanting to, hey, nice to see you. You're really probably wanting to get really use, you need to give yourself a lot of nurturing. You need to give yourself a lot of rest. That's actually how we heal a lot of it. When we're going through a dark night of the soul, it's hard, we're actually peeling back just and shedding all the layers of stuff that's not ours. And as soon as we start connecting with other people, and certainly our old friends, we just don't resonate with them so much anymore, and it can cause us more distressed. Everyone's different, but I would try to listen to what your soul wants and actually just ask, do I feel like seeing people today? And if the answer is no, then don't. I'll be honest, I spent at least 3 years really hardly seeing anybody, and I don't really see many people now, to be honest. I'm really happy about that. Sounds terrible, doesn't it? But I just don't align with so many people now that you start to really ascend. There isn't really that resonance with a lot of people. But I was going to say, I spent 3 years, really doing nothing but research, healing, and going to my day job, when I was going through Dark Night of the Soul. So just be gentle with yourself. You're actually trying to clear not even just this lifetime's worth of trauma. A lot of it will be ancestral trauma as well, do you know what I mean? So it's heavy, heavy work. So you just be led by what feels right to you. So have we got any other questions, guys? So I've got a couple of questions here I'll go through just in case. Okay, cool. Okay, so a lot of people ask me, how do they know if they have unhealed wounds? So one of the ways we know is that we will keep on attracting the same sorts of situations and people to us. Now, one of the reasons for that is that the actual trauma itself, or the wound, the trauma, whatever you want to call it, actually hold its own energetic frequency. And for example, if you continually get betrayed, then you have got betrayal energy or wounding sitting in your body and sitting in your auric field. And it's like a magnet. It is drawing in people and situations that are going to make you feel betrayed. Similarly, if you find yourself feeling, if you feel not good enough, and that only bubbles up occasionally because it sits really, really deep, but if you're feeling not good enough about yourself, you really don't think you're worthy, you have got energetic frequency sitting in your system that says the same thing, and it's magnetic. It will continue to attract to you situations and people that actually reinforce the feeling of being unworthy. So that's always a sign that you've got unhealed wounds, when you keep on seeing the same types of scenarios coming up again and again. The other thing is when we feel triggered, and I don't know about you guys, but before I started my healing journey, oh my God, I don't think I was ever not triggered. I don't even know how on earth I survived, to be honest. When I look back, I'm just actually horrified at actually how I lived my life. But you will be triggered a lot when you feel the overwhelming and really fast reactive kind of response to things. That is a wound, an unhealed wound. And no, you don't have to heal every single trauma you've ever had. I don't know how other people work, but for me, when I'm working with somebody, we look to healing a whole theme. So if you've got the not good enough, usually 1 or 2 sessions at the most will completely clear any not good enough wounding you've picked up. You might have had 150 examples, they will all collapse. So that's why it's so important that we go back to the origin of the wound inside your subconscious mind. And that brings me to something else. It needs to be done in your subconscious mind because that's where the wounding is. And that's the mistake I'm seeing a lot of people making. They're making a lot of effort to heal and have time to themselves and do all the right things, but it's at an intellectual level. They need to be operating. You need to actually clear that trauma in the subconscious mind. And the truth is, that's very difficult to do if you don't have the skills, and that's in part why I've uploaded the guided healings that I do, because it will take you into the subconscious mind, and the healings I upload are usually aimed specifically at the common childhood wounding that we get, and also the wounding that relates to narcissistic abuse, because anyone involved in narcissistic abusive relationships have got unhealed wounding from childhood, absolutely, definitely, and it's usually codependent type wounding. Yeah, cool. So, okay, one more. Do you deal that people that experience love trauma is because they haven't helped from something in their healed from something in their past, meaning it doesn't have a lot to do with the other? Yeah. We keep on playing out the same patterns. That's what we do. We keep on playing out the same patterns. So our wounds also attract in our partners. So they will keep on playing out their wounding, their unhealed wounding, and we will keep on playing out our unhealed wounding. So yes, that's exactly right. If you're noticing a pattern going on here, this isn't the first time, then you've definitely got unhealed wounding there. And the truth is, we all have plenty of unhealed wounding. We just don't really know it because it's our normal. It's been there forever, so we don't even notice it. Yeah. Hey, can I ask, are there any areas that you guys would like me to create some guided healings around? I just do what kind of comes to me and what I see all the time in my practice. But just if you do have some areas that you want guided healings on, do you want to just pop them into the comments field, and I can put them on my list? Cool. Oh, one last thing too. I have got caring, a little download, how to care for your inner child once you've actually healed them, sitting on my website. So if you want to know a little bit more about how to care for your inner child once you've done some healing work with them, just go onto my website and pop down and come down and just sign on there, and you'll be able to download it. Cool. Yeah, the flight response healing would be great. Yes, I hear you. Okay, I've got one inner womb healing up there. I'll think about how we can do it, because it's really, yeah, I think we can do it. I was going to say it's quite complex, whereas the healings that I have up there at the moment are a little bit more straightforward. Obviously in a private session we go way deeper and they're way more specialised than what I can do in that kind of group session situation, but I will definitely put that on my list, no problem at all. It makes such a difference. Part of that process as well is we actually work with the energy, your soul, that has left baby's body, and it's really amazing to do, and we can find exactly how they're feeling, what beliefs they've formed, all that kind of stuff, what they need to feel safe in your body, because they leave your body because they don't feel safe. And then once we bring the healing energy in, we will bring them back down into their body, and we will also anchor you fully into the earth and with the crystalline grid. And honestly, you can immediately feel the difference. I actually worked with somebody the other day, and I have to be honest, it's the first time I'd seen this, but I just got the overwhelming feeling that her energy had been out the entire time. She's 28, and her energy had been out of her body that whole time. And so of course she's felt like she wasn't able to connect so well. She was quite ungrounded. She just didn't feel quite right. And as soon as we did that process, even during the process, when we were healing her energy and her energy came back into baby's body, she immediately felt more solid than she ever has before. It was like, oh my gosh, that was really quite profound. And the result would be is that going forward, you're going to feel a lot more solid, and you're not going to feel, in situations where you'd normally want to get the hell out of there, you're going to feel a lot more solid and grounded and safe and secure. It really is quite life-changing, that kind of work. Okay, so has anyone got any other questions before I sign off, or any other requests for guided healings? Blended families. What is it you want to know about blended families? The not being in the body. Yeah, it could be, it could be about the hair pulling. It's definitely in response to overwhelming emotions that were just too much to actually feel in the body. Yeah, I would say so for sure. Respecting boundaries and blended families, that would be a bit of a minefield. A lot of that is going to be coming down to you respecting your boundaries and not allowing them to be violated. So yeah, if you let them not respect your boundaries, they're not going to respect them. So it's going to be down to you putting them in place. The tricky thing there is whether you've got any old wounding or patterning around not feeling comfortable about putting boundaries in place, because a lot of us have. Nearly everyone I work with, they don't have very good boundary function. I didn't either at all, and I still don't with my own personal boundaries. So that's where I'd start. I'd be starting with your own boundaries. Transitioning genders. So what is it that you're wanting to know there? Oh, wounded masculine and feminine. I love that. Cool. Good. Okay, guys. Is there any other questions from you all? Right. Okay, I see. So same as wounded masculine and feminine. Well, transitioning genders, it would be fascinating. That would definitely not be something I'd want to do in a group setting. Like, it would be really highly, highly personal to that particular person. But what would be amazing is to look at your birth planning. I do that quite often when we are doing the inner womb healing. We'll go back and have a look at your actual birth plan, like what was this lifetime supposed to be about? What were your challenges going to be, etc., etc. But I would definitely be wanting to talk to your soul and find out what it is that your soul needs to fulfill its purpose. That would be really, really powerful, I think, if you're looking at transitioning genders. Any advice for drawing boundaries with clients? Oh, that's interesting. So we attract to us people who are similar to us. And so I would possibly be looking at getting really clear on what you're actually comfortable with, and then putting those boundaries into place, like how long you spend with people. I don't know what kind of boundary you're talking about. I mean, I do get the odd person who feels that maybe the sessions are personal, and they're personal, but they're not of a sexual nature. So it's being really clear yourself on what those boundaries are, and actually honouring them yourself, and then they will follow suit. Yeah, but if you're working with people who've been quite codependent, or haven't had good boundary function themselves, they don't tend to respect other people's boundaries, not because they're disrespectful. Boundaries aren't something that they're used to doing. So if they have their boundaries violated regularly, they're likely to violate other people's boundaries inadvertently without even realising. So I guess it's down to you probably educating them a little bit more. Oh, cool. Sometimes people in need are overwhelming with the energy and seek to be very needy. Yes, yeah, definitely. Yeah, I totally hear you. It is up to you being gentle, but firm on your boundaries, though. Yeah, I get the same sort of thing because it's just the area that we're working in. But we do need to. It's also a little bit about us teaching them boundaries as well. Yeah. Right. Hey, look, I just want to say a massive thank you to everybody for all your support. It means so much to me. So thank you very, very much. And I look forward to doing another live sometime soon. And thank you so much for your support today. I'm really, really grateful. Mwah. Have a wonderful rest of your week, won't you? Thank you. Bye-bye.